All right, so we are back at the Mopar small block, big block engine swap. So I have the engine. That didn't work out very well. I have the Barracuda back on the lift. And the next phase of this project is to do the work to get the Silver Sport transmissions Tremec TKX 5-speed manual swap. And this is a pretty cool kit, so I'm going to talk about this a little bit here. Please note, I did solve the header issue. The headers that I had that were on the Fury, they weren't going to work. So I talked to Cam, the resident Mopar guy, and he's like, hey, I got a set. I had one from his previous engine build. So we were swapping headers and doing a little horse trading, adding a little more on my end to make up for these very nice ceramic coated Schumacher Tri-Y headers. And they fit very well. Like you could tell this was made for this. So I'm very pleased I'll be able to swap spark plugs without breaking them anymore. And I don't think I'm going to lose any horsepower. But anywho, back to the Silver Sport transmission. So I do need to convert this over from an automatic to a manual. I have to shift from the console shift. But in this episode, I wanted to talk about the Silver Sport transmission thing, that it is a full nut and bolt replacement with the exception of the drive shaft, which I wouldn't have wanted the drive shaft anyway, and I think that's why it's not a part of the base kit, because I already actually had the drive shaft cut once when I had the 42RH transmission in here, the 4-speed overdrive. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about that, what you get with the whole kit. So let me get over to all the transmission stuff. All right, so here is, the basic Tremec TKX 5-speed transmission. I mean, this you could go anywhere and see how much this costs. And that is one part of the puzzle. Let's get to the rest. And here is everything else. So when you go on Silver Sport transmission, you put in all your information. They don't, how much does it cost? They'll send you a quote, and that's usually when you get nervous, like, oh God, this is going to be a lot. But what I found out was, and I'm not going to talk about price because depending on when you see this, who knows, the prices may change. When you get the invoice or the quote, it's itemized. So every little piece is broke out and how much it is, whether it's the bell housing or, fluids or the hydraulic clutch, the shift pedals, clutch and disc and, inspection cover, everything, the shift knob. I didn't go with the pistol grip, but that's another. I just didn't want to go with that pistol grip. I just wanted a traditional shifter on it. Transmission mount. This is the adapter plate specific for an e-body and speedometer cables. Just basically everything needed. And then a ton of paperwork, instructions, manuals, everything for this thing. So at first I was like, wow, I don't know if that price seems high. But then when you start going through the itemized list, and, when I was doing the itemized, they said, to go through everything on the list and make sure that everything was shipped to you. And so some of these things, I didn't know what, this specific item was. So I looked it up, and like even this bell housing, I was just for fun. It's the same price on the invoice as it is at Summit Racing. So if you were to buy just the part, you would still be spending that kind of money. And then as a package deal, I got a discount. So I feel like in the long run, this is actually going to be cheaper than if I were trying to put pieces together to make it fit, to make it work. And the amount of time and energy trying to make something work that may not be built for it. It just wasn't going to work. I mean, I did get fluids. I have, brake fluid, brake-in fluid, all that jazz, and the set of instructions. So I think this is going to actually save me money in the long run. So I'm very pleased. So I'm going to start doing the instructions and follow the whole process. It was, it's a significant investment. So typically I don't read the instructions as much as this, but in this case, I am. So I'm going to start with step one. All right, so I went through all of the instructions, well, most of it. And I really appreciate this stuff. This is really detailed stuff. And there's actually some little Easter egg jokes in there, which I thought was hilarious. One of the things for the warranty to do the runout alignment talks about the tools you need. And one of the tools, where is it? One of the tools, most importantly, is patience. So I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, so what I want to do today is to install the bell housing and do this runout test, because if I need to buy shims, I want to order those now, or the dowel adjustment pins. I want to do that now. So, and then if I have time, I want to install the transmission and check for clearance, because one of the things that this thing says, and it's in the very beginning, that with the Tremec TKX, there's a possibility, because of the design of this transmission, that I may not need to make tunnel adjustments, which means I wouldn't have to do this whole step, this whole procedure to put in a floor pan piece to give it more room. So those are the two things I want to do today. So let's get at it. First thing I'm going to do is remove the flex plate for the automatic transmission and install the flywheel. All right, so the instructions talk about using this dial indicator to measure the runout. And I have this Harbor Freight articulating arm, and then I believe I bought this on, Amazon. But I did something a little different than this whole dual arm action thing. So what I did, because I have this weird angled arm thing. So what I did is, so we can do this one-handed, take that off, take this off, and put this in here, and that allowed, for what I'm doing here, nope. off. And just have the one arm. So let me show you what that looks like. So it basically looks like this. I removed these two arms, and then now I'm more of a straight shot. Let me show you inside the bell housing. Okay, so here is the dial gauge inside. I've got it, I didn't put in one of the flywheel bolts so that I have room. It said, you might want to do more than one, but I'm in this hole, and what I'm gonna do now is, if you see, I touch here and I touch here, so in between should be exactly where I want to be locked down, and it's really hard to do this. So I'm gonna put the phone on a stand and get this where I want it. All right, so I had to bring in some reinforcements and have my oldest son rotate the engine just because I couldn't see what was going on. Oh, sorry, you can't see what's going on either. So I zeroed it out here, and then I found the biggest, or I rotated it once around to make sure it went back to zero. I also made sure it wasn't hitting on that side. So everything looked good as far as where the gauge is and all that jazz. And so then I rotated it and found the highest measurement was right here, which would be, I'm guessing, the farthest away from center. And then I zeroed that out and then went 180 from that. And you can see from the gauge, I am 0.030, which is, then you divide by 2. So I'm supposed to be 0.005, and I am 0.015. So this bell housing comparison to the center of the crankshaft is off quite a bit. So I'm gonna have to get some dowels to, adjustable dowels to fix it. Okay, so I put this in my oily mess, but so my 0.015 would be in here. So I need to get the 0.014 offset pins. So I will go place an order for that. Okay, so I measured the runout 3 times. I even did it this morning after taking everything off the dial gauge and all that. Put it all back on, came out with the same results. So I'm pretty sure my runout is 0.015. I've submitted a request into support because I don't see where you can get those adjusting I don't see where you can get those adjusting dowels online, and they say they have them in stock, so I don't know if it comes with the package or what. But anyway, moving on. So the next thing I want to do is put the shifter mount and all the linkage as is described in the instructions for assembling what needs to be together. So I believe this is the shifter tail thing that basically puts the transmission shift exactly where I need it to be on the for my tunnel, for my e-body Mopar. So step 1, remove the transmission from the box. Well, I removed the box from the transmission. Step 2, remove this little piece. Done. Next step is to put that on like that and tap that little dowel in. So I've been tapping it until I get movement, and then just kind of keeping that. I don't want to hit it any harder. It's going in, so don't want to screw it up. Dented anything. Okay. That completes that part. All right, so next I believe I need to loosen these bolts, and I need at least a 3/8 inch gap and apply some grease inside the nylon cup. Then I believe this is going to go under here, and here's the ball into the cup. And then there are these mounting brackets that I believe are going to screw this up from the bottom. I don't know if that's where the transmission crossmember mount goes, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So when this goes in, it goes in like so. Correction. Transmission mount is supposed to go, those holes line up to that one. I was thinking it was going to line up to the inner holes. So I got to take this apart and fix it. All right. And then these are tight, so temporarily bolt the shifter handle on the stub and make sure that shifts into each gear. All right, so I cannot find the bolts to shift this. I think because I switched from a pistol grip to the standard, the bolts didn't come in with it. That said though, I can go left, forward, backwards. Yeah, so reverse is probably harder. But I feel like I can get into all the gears. So moving on. Okay, so my oldest helped me get on the jack stand, and so it's time to roll it over and just see what this all looks like. All right, so have the transmission kind of up and in place to kind of see how I'm doing. Of course, I did have to take off the shift adapter because I would have had to have cut a hole in the floor. But mainly the purpose of this, let me see if I can get up here, is to see I don't know if you can see in there and see where the hole is. This transmission would need to come up a little more to get this to come in and to get the, I just have it on the cardboard to protect everything right now, but this transmission to bolt up to the bell housing is going to have to still come up a little bit, and it's pretty tight in there. I think this is very similar to the 42RH, where it may have a little bit of clearance, but it's sure tight. Plus, I would still have to make room for this and cut this out and build some sort of tunnel. Anyway, I think the simplest thing just might be to install this. I mean, it's just basically rounding off. This would be where the factory tunnel was, and it just kind of squares it off to give me more room on that side. I don't take this brace off. I take the sheet metal on the hump around it. So, I'll be, set that down. I'll be trimming this metal back, but keeping this. So it doesn't look like it's any more than the top of the hump, So I don't know if it's going to get me that much more room there, but it's definitely going to give me a little bit more room over here and over here, specifically where the shift is going to go. So I think what I'm going to do, I know there are people that might say they could get this to install. I think the best bet for me to do, let me rephrase that. I'm sure there's people that would say that they could install this transmission or possibly install this transmission without adding the hump or the tunnel modification. But I want to do this by the book, and I think the safest bet is to go ahead and do that. So it's a little more work. I got to take the seats out. I got to take the seat belts out. I got to take the carpet out, and then do the console modification and all that stuff. So I will do that in the next video. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any advice on how I can do this better or anything I should be concerned about, feel free to give me some tips. I'll accept and read all of them. So everybody have a good one, and the next video will be doing that tunnel modification. I'll talk to you guys later.